Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy Death and Taxes video. And today, we're going bounty hunting. Alright, I'm not going to do that voice for the whole video. I will absolutely kill my throat. Okay, so Dakota has once again challenged me to a Death and Taxes bounty league. We are going to be playing with a 60-card Urza Saga Death and Taxes list with a few extra perks thrown in. So I'm going to talk about the deck list first, and then I'm going to talk about the bounties themselves that have been placed on this league. Okay, so this is a 60-card Death and Taxes list, and the Yorian lists are a little bit more common right now for a handful of reasons that I'm not really going to go into this video because that's not really the point. But talking about this deck list right here, one thing you'll probably immediately notice is that there's not a lot of room for flex slots in this deck list. This deck list is very much like the core stuff that's available in the deck, and that's it. You don't have a lot of room for tutor targets for Recruiter of the Guard or Urza Saga bullets. And the primary reason for that is because Urza Saga is a disappearing land, you need a few more lands than normal in order to kind of work with that. So as a starting point, this is a 25 land deck list instead of the normal 23 or 24 that Death and Taxes tends to play. Part of the reason for that is because, like, if you are adding Urza Saga to your deck, you are adding both a disappearing land and a card that does not help you cast your white spells. So that's why you have to increase the land density. Urza Saga kind of acts more like a spell in that regard. And number two, if you're playing an Urza Saga, you really need at least one card other than an Ether Vial in the deck that, like, you could search up for a tutor target. And for reasons that'll become clear in a moment, Expedition Map has been the card of choice in this deck. As far as the sideboard goes, a lot of the stuff that's in here is common to Death and Taxes sideboards. I'm just going to highlight a couple of quick things. So number one, Cathar Commando is something that has normally made it into the main deck of the Orion builds at this point, primarily because it can blow up Urza Saga and then just has kind of catch-all usage elsewhere. Number two, Tomic is in this deck list. The idea here being that this is something that kind of helps to protect your Urza Sagas that are a little bit vulnerable to Wasteland in matchups like, say, lands, for example. Otherwise, we do have a couple of extra Urza Saga tutor targets in the sideboard in the form of Pithing Needle and Grafdigger's Cage. Okay, so I want to talk about Urza Saga real quick. I think Urza Saga is better in Yorian builds than in traditional 60-card Death and Taxes builds. The issue in the 60-card build is you're more likely to draw the Urza Saga in the early turns, and you do not want them in the early turns. Like, let's say you have, and this will be an extreme example, let's say you have a one-lander with an Urza Saga. That's a land that's going to disappear in a couple of turns, and then it doesn't really matter if you hit your second land drop, because you're going to lose that land at some point. The other thing is you're more likely to draw your tutor targets, which is not something you necessarily want to do. Now, let's talk about that bounty, okay? And I'm just going to pull up the full text here. So I have been offered two conditions that if they happen, I get a little extra dollar bills. All right, condition one is where I chain an Urza Saga into the Expedition Map, and then I get another Urza Saga with it, and create at least 3 constructs between those 2 copies of Urza Saga. Condition number 2 is where I use Saga to grab the Expedition Map, and then get a Caracas and bounce a legendary creature. So if either one of those things happen, I get paid out a little bit extra. So we're going to see if we can hunt those bounties, but I am not going to hunt those bounties at the cost of losing games. So I am going to play optimally and not try to pigeonhole myself into doing the bounty things. And if it happens and I hunt the bounty, sick. If I don't, womp womp, say la vie. All right, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. And if you're a regular, throw me a like before we get started. Those are the easiest ways to support my content for free. If you're really enjoying what's going on, and especially if you like Death and Taxes, please consider becoming a YouTube member. I recently posted a tutoring video with Death and Taxes that you would probably enjoy if you like this video. All right, have a great rest of the day, and let's see how these matches play out. Alrighty, I've kept my round 1 opening hand here. We just have an Ether Vial start. This hand's solid. I kind of just wish Expedition Map was a 3rd land instead of being an Expedition Map. But we can maybe find the mana.
activated at some point this game. It's just kind of awkward, right? Because like next turn I can go like Ether Vial map. But if I do that, I'm not casting this Stoneforge and kind of getting ahead on tempo or anything of that nature. So we'll kind of see how this one plays out. I've got 2 decent creatures for like this game going long. I've got okay prospects. Okay. My opponent paused for like a whole minute, waiting for that Ether Vial to resolve. I don't think I'm going to read too much into that. I'm going to just kind of assume that they stepped away from the computer. As ooh, interesting. Prismatic ending? Prismatic ending. Sure. Okay. I do not need this upkeep stop. I'll get rid of that during my opponent's turn. And I am just going to fire off both of these 1-drops here rather than just jam the Stoneforge. I needed the upkeep stop from when I was playing Pauper. My turn. Move stop. That's fine. Alright, we'll see if my opponent can find another prismatic ending for this Ether Vial. If they do, this expedition map just kind of like awkwardly sits there for a long time. I guess let's yield to that. A recruiter. Much as I would really just like to jam this card, I think I have to just like lean into my Ether Vial being good and find a land here. All right. Am I just getting an Urza's Saga? Makes my Stoneforge worse if I do that. Kind of makes my recruiters worse too. I can just like activate, get a new Ether Vial, and then just try to like chain this bit together. Sure. Just like gives my opponent one more thing to think about. I don't really like this play pattern. I'm going to do it because like I want to see how good this Urza Saga ends up being. But like this is definitely constraining the play pattern of like the cards that I actually have in my hand. What are we working with? Well, fuck me. I don't have a Cathar Commando in the main deck either. That's in the sideboard. Oh, cool. I guess I just ultimately end up turning this into another Ether Vial. I guess that's fine. Rashad and Port's awkward. Alright. Okay, yeah, you can brainstorm away. That's fine. I'm going to have multiple decently sized threats that attack from slightly different angles. It's gonna be really hard to re-equip something like a Cauldra if I choose to get that. Cauldra will be the thing that is most like damning to my opponent's life total. But if I just eat a Terminus, it's pretty bad to get that. Oh, that was fast. That's not going to be good for you. Now this happens, and that also means that I'm just less likely to immediately eat an answer to it. I think I will just grab the Cauldra. Oh, another Swords to Plowshares. Sure, that's fine. Oh. No, it is a Brainstorm for Swords to Plowshares. Which was potentially unsuccessful. Pick this up. Alright. Now I will grab a new Ether Vial. Play this. Guess we're just getting in there. Okay, nice. Let's send this for 5. And then I think I'm going to slow roll my recruiter. I don't think I need to just immediately do anything here. I can also choose to Skyclave this back to basics and actually start using my Rashadan port. But I don't think I'm going to make that decision immediately. Would I rather just recruiter right now? Hard to say. I think I'm going to keep this Skyclave around. Like, I can play around this back to basics for the rest of this game, but I can't necessarily just, like, easily deal with a Jace currently. Yes. Recruiter. Yes. Do I have any cool singletons in here? Not really. I'm just going to grab a Flicker Wisp. I have a lot of pressure. So I just want safety. This one, say no to. Okay, yeah, my opponent's just done with me. That's fair. Okay, so we're playing against Miracles or a Miracles adjacent deck list. We didn't actually see much in terms of a win condition from my opponent. Like, for example, it wouldn't be crazy that this could be something like a Stoneblade deck, but I think I'm going to assume we're in the ballpark of blue-white miracles. So I probably want Gideon. I probably want Pithing Needle. My opponent has back to basics that might just get sided out. Hard to tell. I might just put this in anyway. That'll go in a maybe pile. I'll probably play Council's Judgment, and I'll think about this. It didn't seem like my opponent was Bant. So if I don't have to worry about Uros, Swords to Plowshares loses some stock. My Jisei isn't really fantastic. I board out all of these, or do I like leave some to maybe answer a large shark token or something like that? Let's start by boarding out 2 and then kind of see where I'm at afterwards. Like, that gives me these 3 cards that I know I want, and then like these 2 cards are of medium value. If my opponent does have a creature that I need to answer, I'll have 3 Skyclaves plus a Council's Judgment plus 2 Recruiters to find them. That's okay. There's also worlds where I just sideboard out Mother of Runes because she's very awkward against Terminus, but very good against some of this other stuff. I think I need the Sanctum Prelate in there. And then Cathar Commando is kind of whatever. Since I haven't seen anything that I need to Swords to Plowshares yet, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And then I'll adjust my number of Swords to Plowshares based on kind of what I see. This hand's not great. Is this hand bad enough to mulligan on the draw? I don't have a turn 1 play. That's fine. That's common. I have an okay turn 2 play. I have a sort of like suboptimal turn 3 play. This is not exciting without anything to blink. But I have stable mana that's not vulnerable to back to basics. Sure. I don't know. Maybe I'm supposed to mulligan mana heavy hands with this deck a little more aggressively than normal because I do specifically play 25 lands, and that kind of changes the math on some of my keep draw stuff. Yeah, your Brainstorm's fine. I don't super care about that. So sort of the interesting thing on turn 3 will be like, do I play around a back to basics or do I just... Oh, okay. It is a blue-white standstill deck. We do have Shark Typhoons to care about. Alright, am I jamming? If I wait a turn, I can play a Thalia with Caracas backup. I think it's worth waiting 1 turn. I have 3 Urza Sagas technically, so I can still win under a standstill, but I think my opponent will win under the standstill more frequently than I do. My opponent passing with this mana up, we just don't have super great prospects of like being ahead at the end of the turn. I think I'm just going to pass again. Like, I know that I had a plan previously, but like with all this mana open, my opponent just like draws 3 Swords of Plowshares Thalia, like plays another standstill or something. Okay, sure, that's fine. Like I can take 1 damage a turn without really caring about that. I wonder if my opponent should have sandbagged this card for a little bit longer to just make something larger. I don't super care about this. Alright. I'm going to cast something this turn before my opponent starts getting into hard cast Force of Will, value land. I think I'm just going to attempt a Flicker Wisp this turn. Because if I save this Thalia, next turn I have Flicker Wisp plus Thalia as like a 2-card combo that I can do in 1 turn. Alright, goodbye Shark. The other thing that like opponent cycling a Shark Typhoon that aggressively could mean is that they just have another one already. Okay, that's fine. Sure. Yeah, ponder away. I'm in okay shape here. I think my opponent is ahead. I have a decent amount of gas left in the tank. Okay. That screams to me that my opponent has a Shark Typhoon. Just absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and crash in for 3. So next turn, my opponent gets to make something. Gets to make either a 3/3 or a 4/4 Shark token. I think I am just going to commit harder to my own board here and break this standstill now. I am then going to play a Flicker Wisp. I'm going to Flicker Wisp my Flicker Wisp. I'm going to go to my end step. And you know what I'm going to do? That's right. I'm going to Flicker Wisp my other Flicker Wisp again. So this leaves a Flicker Wisp chilling in exile, so that if my opponent plays like some relevant permanent, I can just flicker it out for my turn. And my opponent is also pretty likely to have to discard some cards. They've got 11 cards in hand. So the fact that I gave them a draw 3 maybe doesn't super matter. Okay, there's their land drop. If it starts with something like a prismatic ending on Thalia for 2 mana, then they could potentially answer 1 Flicker Wisp as well. Okay, there's 3 mana. Nope, 2 mana? 3 mana? What are we doing? Okay. So they only had to pay 2 mana for that. You can do 1 white, X is 0 as the cost, and then the Thalia tax gives you the second color. So my opponent overpaid for that. Alright, so I've got a Flicker Wisp. I do have to blink something. I'm probably using all my mana on my turn. I'm gonna blink one of my opponent's islands here. It'll come back at my end step. And so they're ultimately going to discard 2 of the 3 cards that they drew off the standstill that I cracked. So ultimately, I'm pretty okay with this situation. Ooh, my opponent played discarded 2 Containment Priests. Okay. I have some very odd lines available since I have this many Flicker Wisps. I don't think I'm going to go crazy, though. I think I value getting this Mother of Runes in play quite a bit. So I'm going to Flicker Wisp my Flicker Wisp. Go to the end step. That island returns. I'll Flicker Wisp a Flicker Wisp, and then I'll leave one of these hanging out in exile in case my opponent has something like a Terminus or a Supreme Verdict. If my opponent has a 3rd Containment Priest, like, congratulations, you get me. Yeah, I mean, I played around that to the best of my ability. Okay. Yeah, your standstill's super awkward here. Don't think you want to do that. Oh, no, they... Okay. Yeah, this is super awkward for them. I don't know if they realize this, but I just get to Flicker Wisp that standstill out of play, and then cast all my shit. Nice. And it's going to be worse than just that, which I'll show off in a second. Alright. So I will cast this Thalia. I will cast this Flicker Wisp. I Flicker Wisp the Flicker Wisp. I go to the end step. Let's see. This is the old one. Why do I want to do this? I think I want this one to resolve first. Oh, okay, so these are already on the stack. Okay, I see. Yeah, and then I will just bounce out my Flicker Wisp and potentially force my opponent to have to crack their own standstill here, or just take a stupid amount of damage. Do I just want to float another Flicker Wisp to answer a Shark Typhoon token? Oddly, I kind of do. I can't answer that via a Skyclave. And Shark Typhoon is the thing that beats me right now? Yeah, I'm going to leave another one of these hanging out in exile. Kind of see how that plays out. I am just going to go ahead and crash on in there. If my opponent has the Shark Typhoon, they have the Shark Typhoon. Like, I lose a Flicker Wisp to that, and then I answer that token. I can kind of move on my merry way. Yep, sure seems like it. Okay. So they'll block my Flicker Wisp. Oh god, please block the Thalia. Alright. So they take 2. Then I won't cast any spells because of the standstill. Then end step, this comes back. And I kill the Shark Typhoon token. And I end up ahead on board still. I have seen that 2 or 3 Shark Typhoons from the opponent. I've seen 2 Shark Typhoons already. So they are going to need yet another. I have them on a 2-turn clock. And if they were to cast something like a Supreme Verdict, like they would get a 1-for-1 with Flicker Wisp. I'd bounce Thalia. And then I would draw 3. So life's pretty good. Just need to dodge another Shark Typhoon here. If they have the 3rd, they have the 3rd. God damn it. That's frustrating. Alright, so I lose that Flicker Wisp in combat. Alright, I'm gonna chill for a little while. I don't know if they actually play the 4th Shark Typhoon. I think they just have to hold this back, so I'm going to hope that I draw an Urza's Saga before they get a 4th Shark Typhoon, or otherwise find something that matters. So roughly, I'm sitting at a 3 in 43 chance of drawing an Urza Saga. And they're sitting at maybe a 1 in 28 chance of drawing a 4th Shark Typhoon if that card is actually in their deck. I'm unsure if it actually is. I think we're gonna play a whole lot of draw go here. I also can straight up win by decking my opponent. Like, that's not super likely to happen, but the conversation is on the table. Another turn of draw grow? Come on. Don't play like an Urza Saga of your own. That's not good. So, Timeless Dragon can be cycled and then put into play, and that doesn't actually count as casting a spell. That's also a token, so Skyclave Apparition doesn't actually remove it. That's very bad for me. I probably lose this one now because a shark gets to attack. Not great. Okay. So, I probably need to vomit stuff onto the board here. What, if anything, do I want to get countered here? My opponent's going to have 10 cards. So they almost certainly can answer whatever I do, or at least most of whatever I do. I need to just not die into attacks, which is kind of hard because I have nothing that can deal with any of that. So the way that I don't die to 2 attacks is by getting a Batterskull into play somehow. Alright, I think I'm going to do this one first and crack the standstill with it. Opponent's up to 10 cards. Ugh. Okay, it resolved. That scares me. I'm going to do this. I'll play the Stoneforge. I'm just setting myself up to just get absolutely savaged by a sweeper. Don't think there's a lot I can do on that front. Playing out the Skyclave doesn't do a ton unless I'm literally just using it as one more creature to turn sideways. I think I'm gonna just hold it. And we'll see if I eat a Supreme Verdict or equivalent, or if my opponent's just gonna fire off a couple of removal spells between, like, the end of turn and their main phase. Yeah, that is what's gonna happen. I mean, my Stoneforge has to get answered too. And then the cult... Oh, black? Okay, that's just a prismatic ending thing. That's fine. I don't think that actually represents real cards. Okay, there's something big here. Okay, yeah, my opponent does not know the prismatic ending trick. Which is real good for me. Okay. They started to tap mana for something and then kind of decided against it. Alright. I take this damage, I go to 10. My opponent has 9 damage showing. Alright. What's the line? I'm dead to the shark token in 2 turns, no matter what. I can cast a Batterskull this turn. Or I can just, like, cast the Cauldron and try to go for the win. I think I'm just going to cast the Batterskull. And see if I can wiggle my life total into a position where I don't just immediately die. That will be difficult to do, though. I can also just immediately die to the final Shark Typhoon. Okay, that's fine. Like, that's one thing that potentially doesn't answer my Cauldron next turn when I try to go for a lethal attack. Okay, Brainstorm's fine. I'm up to 13 life now that my opponent used a spell on my shit. So I'm no longer just dead to 2 attacks from the shark token alone. So that's cool. Another prismatic ending? It is. Okay. I just bounce my Thalia. And I'll turn off auto yields. Okay, it's a Jace. Sure. Okay. So I lose this Germ to the Jace. I get attacked for 9. My opponent is unfortunately at 6 life. So the Cauldron will deal 5. And not actually kill my opponent. Not that my opponent just, like, doesn't have a Swords of Plowshares to answer it anyway. Yeah, I don't really see a world where I'm not just dead here. Don't have enough mana to, like, play Cauldron and equip Batterskull to it. Yeah, shit. Alright. I will concede that and save a few seconds of clock. Alright, so now I know that my opponent is doing Shark Typhoon shenanigans. How many Swords of Plowshares do I want? The Skyclaves aren't great. They're a way to answer a Jace, but otherwise they're super awkward against my opponent's deck. It may be okay to trim a Skyclave or two for a couple copies of Swords to Plowshares, just so I have some outs to Containment Priests. The other thing I could do is just, like, straight up cut my Ether Vials. That would make some of my anti-standstill lines considerably worse, though. I think I'm going to keep the Vials, especially on the play, and just board in a couple of Swords to Plowshares. I'm going to leave an Apparition in the deck so that I can tutor for it. Sanctum Prelate is a little less good than I would like it to be as well, because my opponent has these cycling threats. Do I just want to junk that and keep another Skyclave or a Swords to Plowshares in? Like, the big thing Skyclave would do is make me immune to Supreme Verdict. But then, like, my opponent just finds a spot removal spell and plays around that pretty easily. Let's remove this. I'm just going to really respect Containment Priest here. This hand is great. Absolutely great. A little awkward in one specific way. Like, it's very awkward if my opponent has a Containment Priest in their opening hand, because I either just play Mother of Runes on my main phase, allowing it to be Prismatic Endinged, or I potentially get got by a Containment Priest. I have seen 2 from my opponent. It's possible there's a third, but probably pretty unlikely. So they'll have looked at 9 of their cards to find a 2 of. Okay. Alright, my opponent has taken 1 mulligan. Uncapped. And I'll have to decide what I want to do about the timing and this Ether Vial. Like, I can get guaranteed value off of the Ether Vial. Let's just yield to that. Yes. Oh, I love drawing this. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and put in the Thalia now and play around Containment Priest. This gives my opponent the possibility of removing the Mother of Runes. But if they remove the Mother of Runes and I get to keep, like, a Vial on 2 with an active Thalia, I think I'm okay with that. Okay, so here's the Prismatic Ending on the Mom. Yep. So that's the cost of playing around, ooh. Oh, yeah. Alright. There's an Urza Saga. I'm gonna end up vialing in Cathar Commando. So let's go ahead and Pithing Needle Shark Typhoon now. And I think I'm just gonna dump in this creature. Just straight up play around Containment Priest. It can make some things slightly more awkward and gives my opponent more information. But I am very much the beatdown right now. Like, I'm going to make a couple of Urza Saga Construct tokens and just try to murder my opponent. I'm unsure if I am supposed to tick my Ether Vial up, because, like, Thalia Karaka's Ether Vial on 2 is really good. Okay. They have now figured out the whole Prismatic Ending trick for the first time. So I'm gonna bounce my Thalia back to my hand. Okay, they just straight up concede. Okay, we'll take that. Ooh. Alright, I've kept my opening 7 here. I'm not thrilled that I have an Urza Saga in my opening hand, because I have just, like, so much to do with my mana, and I'm worried about just, like, losing this card. I'll lose this Ether Vial here, I think. Yep, Prismatic Ending. Alright, yeah, okay, at least I drew another land, so I don't have to play this Urza Saga for quite some time. Let's threaten the Cauldron here on this board. Like, this puts my opponent to the test of having 2, like, 1-mana removal spells in a row. Otherwise, I get in for a bunch of damage. I'm totally fine with that. I also have the Flicker Wisp to reset it, which is obnoxious. Okay, so we are playing against some blue, white, red good stuff pile. Maybe expect Ragavans and such. Yeah. Alright, do you have swords? Oh, you don't have swords. Nice. That means I get Cauldron into play. Quite happy with that. Now, like, my opponent can just find a Prismatic Ending or Swords to Plowshares and take care of the token. But I still have a lot of gas left in the tank afterwards. Yeah. And just kind of, like, noting how much I have to do with my mana, this is why I don't really like Urza's Saga in 60-card Death and Taxes. Like, I don't want this card in my hand. I just want this to be a plains that is stable. Like, I have my mana spoken for, I don't know, the next 4 turns pretty easily, assuming I just drew all lands afterwards. So yeah. Alright, that's a Ragavan to the discard pile. That's 3 types in there. As soon as they play a fetch land, it'll be the 4th. Okay, yeah, so Dragon Rage Channeler is now a 3/3. No big deal. What's next? Okay, great. So my opponent is just like super desperately digging for an answer to this germ token. They have plenty. That was a shuffle though. Nice. Okay. Don't think there's any reason why I can't attack with this Stoneforge here. So let's go ahead and do that, and then I'll think about the rest of the turn. I'll kind of like see whether or not I don't ended up losing the token. Nice. So my opponent's at 8 life. All right. Am I just Flicker Wisping to get a flyer in play, and then blink the Stoneforge? I can just play a Thalia. I don't have a Solitude in here, do I? No. So I don't have an easy tutorable answer to a Murktide Regent. I guess Aldra is kind of my answer to a Murktide Regent, kind of. Recruiter of the Guard can just turn into another Flicker Wisp later. I'm gonna go ahead and play this. And blink my Stoneforge. So yes. Pick up a Batterskull. Just puts my opponent under a lot of pressure. Like, they can play a Murktide and then just eat a bunch of damage from a Cauldra, go to 3, then I have, like, Batterskull waiting in the wing. Okay. So I lose my Germ here, and then we'll see if my opponent can follow up with a Murktide. It seems like it since they're attacking. I will just go ahead and make this trade here. I'm fine with that. Okay. Sure, so I'm going to get this Wastelanded. Now you have the Murktide. No? Oh, no Murktide. Sick. Alright, so I have a Thalia plus 2 mana put in Batterskull available to me. I want to put this in now to play around Stifle. No, I don't think I do. Because then I play into a Prismatic Ending on the Germ token itself. Okay, so I lose another Urza Saga. Another thing in the category of I wish this was a Plains. And then let's dump in a Batterskull. I've got a very... yeah, okay. Alright, so we are playing against a blue-white-red Ragavan pile of some nature. These decks don't, like, super have identities. I know I'm going to want Path to Exile for Murktide Regent. Like, that's a very real card. Tomic's okay. Prelate's okay. Council Judgment is good. Rest in Peace is okay. I've got 7 cards that I can realistically think about. There's also Cathar Commando for if my opponent is playing Urza Sagas of their own. I don't think I want to be using mana for Expedition Map. Without something like an answer to Murktide Regent that's tutorable, I probably don't want these. So that gives me 3 more removal spells as a starting point. From there, it's a little tricky. Like, I am on how many answers to a Murktide? 7? I'm only on 7 answers to a Murktide. The Rest in Peace is a little slow on the draw. I could board out a land and play some copies of Rest in Peace. Could do something like board out 1 3-drop and 1 Urza Saga to play 2 Rest in Peace. Then that gives me closer to 9 answers to a Murktide Regent. The math doesn't exactly work like that because Rest in Peace is only sometimes an answer to it. This brings me to the absolute minimum creature threshold that I want to be playing, though. Try not to drop below 20 creatures, otherwise your vials start losing some amount of value. Let's try something like this. I'm going to leave the Sanctum Prelate in the board. When I know my opponent's playing Prismatic Ending, that card is a little bit less attractive. Okay, my opponent stepped away from the computer for a while for some reason. I'm going to keep this opening hand. It's not, like, great, but it's fine. I don't have a super impactful turn 2 play is part of the problem here. I will reset the board with Wasteland if my opponent just opens up on something like a Ponder. Otherwise, I'm pretty likely to go Mother of Runes into Mother of Runes Wasteland on turn 2. Alright, it is the Ragavan. So there's a lot of ways to play this turn here. Okay, I picked up another land for my draw. Daze, Force of Will, Force of Negation, eat this right now. Whereas like Lightning Bolt, Swords to Plowshares, Prismatic Ending, eat this right now. I think I'm going to attempt the Path to Exile now with this timing. Oh, great. Well, now I don't need to discuss the hypothetical world in which that spell does not resolve. Ooh, and opponent does not have a basic. Fantastic. So now my next turn will be choosing between whether or not I play double Mother of Runes or whether or not I play a Skyclave Apparition. If my opponent is randomly playing a Forked Bolt in one of their flex slots, it super sucks to play double Mother of Runes, but otherwise it's pretty good. Okay. That's fine. Do we see another Ragavan? We do see another Ragavan. Okay, and they've got Baubles for Dragon Rage Channeler. That's fine. I can answer this fully next turn with the Skyclave Apparition. I don't think I'm wastelanding this turn. It's just more important to resolve these cards, and it looks like my opponent does not have counter spells. Come on, no Forked Bolt! Absolutely will trade a Mother of Runes for a Ragavan right now, just by the way. I'm just not on board with that thing hitting play. Or rather, hitting me and then like randomly hitting one of my good creatures. Okay, I've got a Brainstorm from my opponent. That's fine. I don't know if I'm going to use this Wasteland the entire game, because I have this Batterskull in my hand that I want to just hardcast. So, like, while I can just knock my opponent off of white, I don't know that that's more important than just working towards my Batterskull mana. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. I'm really soft as a Murktide Regent right now, which I don't like. Like, I have a removal spell in hand, but it doesn't work for that creature. If I wasteland my opponent, then they can't, like, ponder into a Murktide Regent, but it just keeps me further away from casting this Batterskull. I'd really like to just... okay. Well, this is a multiple turn line that maybe keeps my opponent off of Murktide Regent. Isn't great, and like it becomes worse if my opponent like either plays a Murktide Regent here or just continues to hit land drops. If they don't hit land drops, it's fine. Fuck. Alright. GG. Like, I'm gonna, in all likelihood, lose to that. I can try to just like play a naked Skyclave Apparition and then go Jitte Equip next turn. Not fantastic. I think this game is just ultimately going to come down to whether or not I top deck an answer to this card. I'm going to play a port. I think I am just going to do this in the upkeep. There's a world where I'm supposed to wait and do this at their end step instead. That's not great for me. I'll take 7, go to 14. Not good. I guess I'll play the Jitte first. Doesn't super matter. Like, I have one draw step to draw an out to this, and like my opponent has made it very clear that they don't have counter spells. They've been F6ing through my turns. Alright. One set of draws here to beat this card. Oh fuck, my opponent. Oh. Sure. Sure. Okay. Yep. I'm dead to 7 in the air. And people ask me why I am so pro a Murktide Regent ban. That's exactly it. It dances around a lot of removals. It ends games incredibly quickly. It's very frustrating. Alright, my decision to bring in Rest in Peace is further cemented by the fact that, like, I A, lost that game to a Murktide Regent, and B, my opponent also has Grim Lavamancer. I think I'm more or less happy with how I'm boarded here. So this is a hand that doesn't actually do anything, despite having a good mix of lands and spells. Like, I can answer an opponent's creature, but I can do nothing to, like, get ahead myself. I think this is a mulligan, despite being a somewhat balanced hand. I'll keep this and pitch my expensive card here. I think my opponent is favored to win this game, though, unfortunately. Like, I have answers to their stuff, but I just have no way to win the game myself. Which is no bueno. Okay. Like, I can deal with a Ragavan start or something like that. Okay, I'm gonna lose my vial. That's bad. Yep. So I'll play this Thalia. And now I'm just out of gas. Like, my opponent will spend 2 mana at some point to kill this Thalia. I'm probably gonna miss a land drop and not be able to play this. Yeah. Ooh, land drop. This is not great for me. I don't think I'll Swords to Plowshare something immediately to play around Daze. It's possible my opponent has boarded out the Dazes on the draw, though. I also just, like, did not see a single counterspell from my opponent last game. So, like, there's some world where I'm accordingly supposed to just, like, not play around the Daze. I just have nothing to do with my own turn, though. So I'll let this go. And I get punished if I draw a 2 or 3 drop. But I think I'm okay with it. Alright. I guess I'm going to make my attack first in respect of Gut Shot, as weird as of a sentence as that is to say. This drops my opponent to 16. I'm then going to play the Spirit of the Labyrinth around the Daze. And then, just for pure mana efficiency, I am going to go ahead and do this now. Okay, that's fine. I will let that get countered. I just don't want to give my opponent more looks at a Murktide Regent right now. Seems like they found one. So I will lose this game to a Force of Will on my removal spell for this Murktide Regent. Let's try it. Okay, they did not have it. Great. I am ahead on board here, but I basically have nothing, right? Like, one removal spell on this Spirit of Labyrinth opens up most of my opponent's cantrips. And I've boarded out some of my endgame by boarding out the recruiters. Alright, there's a prismatic ending, so that will answer my Spirit of the Labyrinth, which is not great. Oh no, it can't answer my Spirit of the Labyrinth. They only have Wasteland, plus, like, potentially one other land available. Oh, okay. The expressive iteration, generally speaking, was a whiff there. That's super important. I'll crash in for 5. And then I'm going to get this Rashadan or Wastelanded unless my opponent F6'd, which it looks like they did. Now going to play around Prismatic Ending here to the best of my ability. Okay, it's a Swords to Plowshares instead. Oh, on the Flicker Wisp rather than the Spirit of the Labyrinth. That's interesting. Does that just mean you have a Lightning Bolt in hand or something for this one? This is the thing that keeps you from cantripping. Okay. Sure. Alright, I'll take the 3 here. I'm slightly confused about some of the lines that my opponent has taken here. How important is it for me to just play this creature here and open myself up to Daze? I can wait a turn. But if I just play this now and it actually works, I get in for 3 damage. Is super relevant given, like, the amount of damage that I actually have. It just opens me up to Daze and Force of Will. I really don't want to block this Ragavan, though, with this Spirit of the Labyrinth. I would potentially block with Flicker Wisp. I think I'm okay with taking the risk there. Alright, Ragavan is crashing in. Am I blocking? I think I'll block. There's too many things that my opponent can hit that are just, like, way too relevant right now. The big question here is, like, do I tick this Ether Vial up? I have a few fewer 3s than normal because I boarded out the recruiters. Yeah, if I also boarded out 1 Flicker Wisp, I'd probably leave this at 2. Okay. I'll leave it at 2. That's a Spirit. Alright, I think I'm chilling. I think I just need to trade with this Ragavan here, and then bait a Brainstorm or Ponder. And then, like, try to get ahead that way. My opponent has 1 card. Okay, it was just a land. Put this in. Spirit. I think my opponent has better top decks than I do right now. Never mind. Never mind. What a fucking draw. So this means that Murktide Regent doesn't just absolutely hose me here. And this just turns this into a 1-1. My Spirit of the Labyrinth isn't going to be able to attack anymore, but I think that's okay. We can stare at each other for a little while. My opponent can ultimately Prismatic Ending away a Rest in Peace. I hate that this thing doesn't fucking actually draw a card. Ugh. Alright, Days went to exile. My opponent is not getting good value off of their Expressive Iteration. Sure. Alright. Okay, that's fine. You draw your card. I'm going to continue to leave this at 2. And I'll wait. Alright. So my opponent is taking out the Rest in Peace here. If they actually have a Murktide Regent, this is very bad for me. They don't, and they're just hoping to turn this into a 3/3 flyer. That's fine. But it feels like if you get rid of the Spirit of the Labyrinth over... if you get rid of the Rest in Peace over the Spirit of the Labyrinth, it feels like the graveyard is my opponent's current plan to win. I don't need to get in for very much, but I do... Ugh. That's not what I'm looking for. I'll tap down this Tundra, try to keep my opponent off of another Prismatic Ending. This game is slowly... Fuck this card. Game is slowly tipping in favor of my opponent. Okay, so there's a Tundra. Continue to leave this at 2. Okay. I want to do this end of turn, I think. Yeah, I'm in an okay position. I'm not just going to, like, grab Jitte here. Am I porting end of turn? Or, like, second main instead? Yeah, I think I'm just going to make it harder for my opponent to have an answer to this Stoneforge Mystic. Yeah. Okay, there goes Bobble. Haven't seen any Lightning Bolts from my opponent. I've seen Swords to Plowshares from my opponent. Okay. Okay, seems like my opponent has found a Murktide Regent. Them leaving up Scalding Tarn is super annoying for me, because I can't just port that down and guarantee that my Stoneforge lives. I'm going to attempt to port it down anyway and see what they do. Oh my god. Oh my god. What a fucking blunder. Like, I understand them wanting to play a little quickly because they're behind on clock, but that was super bad. Leave this at 2 still. Nice. Let's go ahead, activate this, put in you, activate this, put in you, go to combat. Just the 1. Puts my opponent to 1. Go ahead and take them off of some mana. I'm in a pretty good position now. Like, my opponent's got the Murktide. They need to answer my Kaldra Germ token. What are you doing? Oh, okay. So they just overpaid for the Thalia attacks. That's fine. I now have lethal attackers in play still. You can't attack with anything. I think I'll wait a turn, though. Oh, that's quite good. So I could attempt a lethal attack, and if my opponent doesn't have anything, they're dead. By 3, 4, 5. This is 6. Yeah, I'm just going to put my Batterskull in and just kind of wait a little bit here. I'm not sure if I actually want to activate my port or just, like, work on keeping my opponent off of mana on my own turn. Yeah, no, I think I'm okay doing this now. Makes a Swords to Plowshares or a Lightning Bolt a little bit better for my opponent. I think I'm okay with that. Like, since my opponent has a... Oh, well, okay, I guess that Scalding Tarn isn't super relevant. Okay, I now believe that my opponent is just deterministically dead. I'm going to have 4 bodies that can attack in. This Scalding Tarn can't actually fetch right now. Yeah. Alright, GG's. I think my opponent potentially could have won that one if they played a little bit tighter. But but they lost a couple critical opportunities to do some little things right that were super costly.
Hey, if you made it this far in the video, it's pretty obvious that you're enjoying my content. Consider doing something to help me, whether it's something as small as leaving a like or subscribing to my channel, or doing something cool like doing a donation deck list, or even cooler, a dealer's choice donation deck list. Just saying, I get to do shenanigans every time that happens. Okay, back to the show.
Okay, my opponent has a 61 card deck, meaning they're probably like goblins, elves, or Nick Fit. And I'm going to keep my opening hand here. Ooh, a 61 card lands deck? I don't think I want to just like attack this right away. I think I'd rather get my own stuff going. And we will probably learn this turn for sure what my opponent is doing. Okay, so Loam? Okay. So my Vial might be getting Abrupt Decayed here. Go yes to this. I also just like have to respect that my opponent could just like combo me in the next turn cycle. Like that's a thing. How scared am I gonna play? I don't think I'm in a situation where I get to just play super safely here. I think I need to threaten 5 damage a turn with this Stoneforge Mystic. ASAP. Okay, is this just a copy? Ooh, it's an endurance. Sure. So this makes me think that this does have like a Green Sun package. Not 100% comfortable with where my opponent's deck is at, though. Not gonna lie. I'm gonna play this Wasteland and just kind of let that chill and start trying to get in there with my Cauldra. Yeah. Okay. Get in there, little buddy. Alright, so opponent's going to 15. I'm a little flooded here, but I have some degree of versatility with my lands. Okay, this is copying a Wasteland. This is a nuisance for me, because this means that my opponent can just, like, Wasteland my Wasteland. If this card's a crop rotation, this is a little awkward for me to just fire off a Wasteland on this. Go ahead and do it anyway. Okay. That was a success. My opponent did not have the crop rotation. Now they can just, like, Life from the Loam this shit back. Okay, they have a new stage. That's a thing, too. Okay. Yeah, so opponent's deck is looking 4-color Loam adjacent with a combo finish. Let's bash in for my 5 damage. Alright, opponent's just eating that. Now, what's better, like Port or Urza Saga? I'm gonna Skyclave that Bob. Port's okay. Not great, okay. Urza Saga is not great, it's also okay. I just have my opponent on a 3-ish turn clock already just from Cauldra. I don't know how necessary the Urza Saga is. I'm gonna go ahead and try to choke my opponent on mana here. Yes. Skyclave. Dunk Bob. I think Bob is just better than Endurance here. Like, Endurance stops some of these other shitters from attacking, but my opponent can be 1 card away from just having me dead at any point here, just by making a Merit Lodge. And, like, I've seen 2 Thespian stages, so they have to have some non-zero number of Dark Depths. If they are 4-color Loam and they're playing Chalices, then I don't actually have crop rotation specifically to worry about. But I don't have just 100% certainty in what their 75 is going to look like. Sure. The Urza Sagas now have real text. But again, by having these Urza Sagas, I'm not working towards just like re-equipping a Cauldra, because I have these disappearing lands, and I otherwise would have 4, 5, 6, 7 lands, and I would just be working towards Cauldra re-equip. So we'll see how good these Urza Saga construct tokens actually end up being. They're going to be something that can attack through the Endurance. Like, that's definitely relevant right now. What is this? Green Sun? Okay, it's a Green Sun. Be like a Ramunap. Be a Rexage. Oh, it's Grist. Oh, that's annoying. Oh, fuck me. Alright. Not happy with that. That Skyclave's a great draw, though. So I'll just do that. Like, I'm very sure that that's happening. Yeah, now I have to attack my opponent's colored mana sources. I'm unsure if I want to play this Urza Saga. A little weird. It really depends on whether or not my opponent hits another land. If they hit another land, I don't want to have... I don't want to port, and if they do hit... Alright. If they hit a land, they can Uro, is what I'm getting at. I think I'm just going to play a Plains. Alright, so... Go ahead and attack this Bayou here. Okay, so they're fully going to give up... Ooh, they're going to copy my Urza Saga. Alright, so they are fully going to give up on trying to cast this Uro this turn. Ooh. That's annoying. Okay. So now I'll do this thing. I'm not sure if they did the right thing though, because I can now just like port down here's the Uro too. Yeah, this is quickly becoming awkward for me. There's a 3/3 this turn. Yeah, the whole like Urza Saga disappearing thing is so awkward right now. I can either keep them off of Uro, or I can keep them off of making constructs, but I can't do both. I don't know that their constructs actually matter. Or actually, I can just play a second Rashad port and try to do both, rather than play Urza Saga. Yeah. Oh, this game is going to be glacially slow. Alright. I'll tap Urza Saga, tap down one of their lands. Their Urza Saga Thespian stage ticks up. Okay, they've got a map. That's a little awkward for me. Because that can just get a Dark Depths. Or it could get like a fucking Tabernacle. Like there's options. Ball Pit? Really? What thing here is that scary for you? Huh. Yeah. Holy Flicker Wisp Batman. That's such a good draw. What if I just Flicker Wisp this Endurance? Opponent blocks a 3/1. They take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Block a 3/1. Take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, yeah, that's not lethal. Next turn I can just try to equip Kaldra. Do I want to play the Urza Saga now? No, probably not. Alright, just infinite patience. Okay. Am I using my Flicker Wisp for this? I don't think so. I think I'm just okay giving them a 3/3. Don't think that's super relevant. Alright. We can do it this way. I'll set another stop. I expect they're gonna tap Scrubland as their other land here. Okay, so they're gonna become a copy of my Plains. That's fine. Now I'll port you down. I could flicker my own Plains here to fizzle this ability and cause them to lose this Thespian stage rather than just keep one that can keep making constructs. I think the game's over though, so I'm not going to do that. Move this stop. Yeah, so I think I just end of turn flicker out one of my opponent's creatures and then equip Kaldra and swing in. Let's say this is like block. Like I can just blink Endurance out of the way and then do an equip of Kaldra. Crash in with everything. The Flicker Wisp is guaranteed. I'm not expecting my opponent to have instant speed removal. I guess there's like Swords to Plowshares that I have seen. I don't know that I need to go for a kill here though. Like I don't know that I need to just take that degree of risk. Wasteland's very good too. I think I'll just kind of sandbag that though. On Spirit of the Labyrinth maybe? Like an attack with something that otherwise like very much couldn't attack. Sure. Let's crash in with that. Alright, opponent goes to 1. And then I'm gonna just chill on this Flicker Wisp. I'm not worried about the Uro that's in the graveyard. I can answer that. Not worried about the stuff that's on board. I am worried about just randomly losing to like a Merit Lodge, which is why I'm trying to play super conservatively with this Flicker Wisp. Okay, it seems like my opponent is now going for Uro mana. That's fine. Okay with this happening. Please tap out. Oh my god, yes. Yeah, very much good with this. So with my opponent tapped out, that means I have a guaranteed line that kills. So I just go ahead and tap this. Yes. Flicker Wisp. Blink out their one thing that can fly. And then move my Cauldra. Yeah, okay, they see the line. Okay. So, we are playing against a 4-color loam deck. My opponent has disconnected. I assume they're restarting to get rid of some lag. They'll be back in a second. Alright, so I kind of want the ability to grind here. I kind of want the ability to protect some of my lands, to remove Uros. And I didn't see any, but it kind of feels like my opponent might have some Urza Sagas in their deck list as well. Like, I didn't see a Dark Depths, which I was kind of expecting. So, like, if there's not Dark Depths, I think my opponent had a decent opportunity to fetch one up, and they got Cabal Pit instead. And maybe they have Urza Sagas. Either way, I think Pithing Needle is reasonable. I could Containment Priest to have another thing that fucks with Uro. I don't know that I'm going to do that. Like, I could Grafdigger's Cage to have another thing that messes with Uro. I have a bunch of stuff that I can bring in. I do not think I want my Expedition map. Do not really think I want Speaker to the Labyrinth. It just, like, it's awkwardly stalled by a bunch of my opponent's things, such as Endurance. It can be good against Sylvan Libraries, but I'm going to have a bunch of other stuff that answers that. I think these are the first couple of cards I'm boarding in. My Jittes are kind of whatever. They can be nice against Bobs. They can be nice to, like, finish off an Endurance and do some cool things with, like, Thalia First Strike. Helmic's a little awkward in that, like, it's nice to protect my stuff from Wasteland, but it's a white card that still doesn't beat Endurance in combat, and I think my opponent had a Caracas, or was that last game? I don't know. I think I'm gonna junk this for either Cage or Needle. And then I'm, like, floating pretty low on the, like, number of creatures line. Could go down Ether Vials for this matchup and just try to play grindier Magic. My threat density high. I'm gonna play like this game. I'm not sure about my boarding here. Like, not knowing whether my opponent has Sagas or Dark Depths is really making my decisions hard here. I don't love my opening hand. I'm going to keep it. There's a world where I just immediately Pithing Needle Wasteland. Just because my mana situation is a little desperate here. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Wasteland. Alright. Yeah, you know, obviously, like, I have a Wasteland of my own in my hand, but mana stability is often king in some of these situations. Alright, just to pass the turn after playing that land. I know my opponent's deck has Swords to Plowshares. I don't think I just want to play the Stoneforge immediately into Swords to Plowshares, so I should play either Rest in Peace or Thalia this turn. If I wait on Thalia, I can potentially protect Thalia, but if I play Thalia, then I can't Rest in Peace the turn after, which is slightly awkward. I still think I'm going to do this. It's, like, technically something that's minorly disruptive to my opponent's plans. Seems like it's not going to make it around, though. That's fine. Ooh, yeah, okay. There are the Urza Sagas, and so my Pithing Needle on Wasteland is now incredibly awkward. But when I get to a 4th mana, I can flicker out my Pithing Needle and then Wasteland. That's a thing I'm allowed to do. Alright. I think this is just going to be my Cauldra turn. Let's grab that. We'll see if... Okay, it did not eat an immediate Swords to Plowshares. That's good. Because, like, Cauldra is better than my opponent's Urza Saga construct tokens right now. Like, quite a bit. I can just eat a Prismatic Ending, though. Yep. That's okay. Like, my opponent didn't get value off of their Urza Saga in this turn cycle. Okay. I think this is just a multiple spell turn. Drop this and this. Really awkward to play a second 1-drop. into the blast zone like that, but I'm not sure that my opponent actually wants to remove this Pithing Needle right now. I think they're gonna use their mana to make a construct, turn it into a 2/2 via a Mox Diamond. Yep, there it is. What just went to exile there? Okay, all right. So this is probably indicative that like the Dark Depths is around. Okay. Ooh, that's fine. Wonder if I'm supposed to Flicker Wisp this Mox Diamond. I guess like a lot of it depends on whether or not I on mana. You have an ending? Oh, you have a Dryad Arbor, sure. Do I draw a land here? Kind of. I can Flicker Wisp, blink my Pithing Needle, switch the Pithing Needle to Blast Zone, Wasteland one of my opponent's lands. I can just remove both of their creatures, and then try to Flicker Wisp the Mox Diamond. I wish this was a white source. Because, like, Flicker Wisp plus Source of Plowshares is a really good turn. Alright. I think I'm just gonna accept that this is a touch awkward. I think I'm actually gonna go for this Mox Diamond play here. Oh, nice. Okay. So I did successfully eat the Mox Diamond. My opponent didn't have another land in hand. And then I have, like, a Source of Plowshares for this Construct token, another one for the Dryad Arbor in the not-too-distant future. What do you have? Alright, so Rex Sage blows up my Rest in Peace. That's fine. Like, it's relevant, but it's fine. Alright, so we will play the Wasteland game and stare at each other for a little while. Yeah, that's fine right now. I don't even know that I'm going to remove that construct. Like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to remove the construct. I will take out the Dryad Arbor. Like, that's a mana. But I'm willing to take 1 damage from a construct for a little while to keep an answer to something like a Bob. Like, those are the sorts of top decks that are going to be, like, super relevant right now. Sure. Okay. So I'll lose Mom here. That's fine. Guess I should technically give this protection from white. I don't think it's super relevant. I'm still just going to take this hit. I'm willing to take a little bit of damage from the construct. Oh my god, what a draw. So I was going to say, like, I'm slowly just working towards getting a Cauldra. I'm going to pause here like I'm thinking about which one I want, and I'm going to click on Batterskull. Crash in for my 3. Opponent goes to 14, and then they'll be on a 2-turn clock, 8 followed by 8. They can disrupt that any number of ways. I don't have blue mana to play the front side of an Uro currently. And even if my Stoneforge dies, like, I just get to hardcast a Batterskull. Oh, right, those are active now. Oh, fuck, I probably fucked up my turn. I forgot they removed the Pithing Needle. I probably should have just, like, double Wastelanded these 2 sources and then played Stoneforge. Yeah, I fucked that up. Ooh. I don't know, if I did that, like, this Life from the Loam would have been really annoying instead of just moderately annoying. So you take out my tapped Wasteland, that's fine. Well, fuck me, I guess. Now I'm not gonna get to hardcast this stuff. Yikes. Okay. At this point, do I have to fire off a Source of Plowshares? Start soaking up damage? I probably do. Game is gonna go very long now. Alright. Would be a great turn to draw a Rest in Peace. Nope. Nope. Alright. I'll hit in for 3. Opponent can strip me of my resources, but ultimately they do have to just find something that answers this Flicker Wisp. So they can just play an Endurance, they can play a Source of Plowshares, they can play a Prismatic Ending. I guess technically a Blast Zone is an answer to it too, albeit a very, very, very slow one. I can also just, like, find a new Stoneforge Mystic and sneak in my Batterskull that way. Is there an Endurance in my opponent's hand? If there is, this attack's super bad. I can try to play around it by, like, Wastelanding my opponent and Rashad importing them pre-combat, but I think that ends up being kind of bad for me. I'm going to go ahead and put him to the test here. Make him have it. Okay, they did not have it. That's quite good for me. I'll play my land and pass. Okay. Goodbye, Vial. I'm going to go ahead and tap down their thing that would allow them to Swords of Plowshares or Prismatic Ending. I'm not going to Wasteland. Because in the world where I don't get Wastelanded myself in this turn cycle, I would like to be able to cast Batterskull. That's fine. Sure. Now my Rashad Port is going to get Wastelanded, and I'll take another 2 damage from the attack. Yep. Alright. I mean, that's not the worst. Just puts me right back in the same situation where my opponent has to repeat that loop if they want to get rid of my Ether Vial. And slowly, but, like, the Ether Vial is something. Oh, don't have the fucking Uro. God damn it. Oh, that's 4. That's a green sun for 3. They probably don't have another Rex Sage, but this could be like a Ramunap Excavator or something. Could be an Endurance. Alright, they are going for the Uro. My opponent does not have a second blue land yet. Okay, they have a second blue land. I really hope I don't have to wasteland my opponent to keep them off of Uro. That's not a winning situation for me. Alright. I can wasteland my opponent off of blue, and that buys me 1 turn away from the Uro. But if my opponent plays the Uro, it means I don't get wastelanded. And then if I draw a land, I can put a Batterskull in play and potentially equip a Batterskull to Flicker Wisp and get in there for lethal. If my opponent plays Uro, they lose access to Life from the Loam and Wasteland, unless they dredge. I think I'm more likely to win this game if I just connect with Flicker Wisp 2 more turns in a row. This keeps my opponent from oh, there's a Shadow Spear. Okay, I mean, I'm glad that that's gone. This is just going to get a blue source. My opponent will cast Life from the Loam, returning the Tropical Island, and then they can Uro next turn. Alright, Trop, Wasteland, Verdant. I can draw a Port, a Wasteland, a Rest in Peace to keep them off of that. I think I potentially would have been dead to that construct that I cast Swords to Plowshares on, by the way. Fuck me. Alright. So, top of the deck has not been kind here. Opponent's going to get Uro and go to 5, and then I need to draw an answer to the Uro. We'll have Swords to Plowshares, Caracas, Path, Skyclave, Recruiter. I'm going to count Stoneforge as an answer as well. Because that will definitely do things. But I probably need a live draw on my next draw step. These, like, 3 Aether Vials plus a couple of lands that are kind of dead due to my opponent's Wasteland lock. It's rough. God. Caracas is probably unbeatable here, because that's just, like, recursive life gain. Alright. Have to draw live right now. Cool. So I have to hold back Flicker Wisp to trade with Reclamation Sage now. Otherwise, I die to the 8 damage that's on board. That's super unfortunate. I think this is game over for me, either literally or figuratively. I go to 1 here. My opponent gains life, draws a card. They're up to 7 in hand. That Blast Zone going back in play also just mucks with some of the things that I potentially would want to do. Yeah, so they're just going to immediately do that. Yep. What else are we working with? Okay. Alright, don't really want to draw that. I'm dead to any removal spell here. And I also just have to chump block. So, like, this Batterskull coming into play isn't actually all that good. Okay, now Rashad Port. Keeps me away from casting this Cauldra. Not that, like, the Wasteland lock wouldn't have done that anyway. So, here I am. Casually chump blocking. Yep. This is rough. If a second threat gets into play here, it's incredibly hard for me to win from this position. And it does. Yeah. Like, even if I answer the Uro now, I'm going to take splash damage from this Ramunap. Oh, wow. Yeah. Flicker Wisp. Mom jump blocks. I take 4. I guess I'm technically alive. I'd have to draw Flicker Wisp. Oh no, Blast Zone's in play. I am objectively dead. Alright, GG's. Oh shit, that's not the end of the match. Oh, we gotta do this shit again. Just kind of like looked at the clock and went, this game has been going on forever. Surely it's over. Nope. Okay, there's 7 minutes on clock. My opponent is disconnecting again to reset because this game has just been so long. I think I am going to board out my Ether Vials. I haven't seen a Dark Depths yet. I think I just want to be better at answering Urza's Saga and Uro. I want Tomic in here. I think I'm just as likely to win this game via timeout as I am via damage. I go down to Thalia. I'm going to play a Tomic. I'm also going to put a Grafdigger's Cage in this deck, so I'm just less likely to lose immediately to an Uro. This has been a slog of a league. Every round so far has been at least 45 minutes. Just absolute full value league. That has to be a mulligan. This is fine. It's not good, but I think I'm going to keep it. I think this does enough interesting things that I'll just keep it. It's going to be bad against Life from the Loam. But I am trying not to lose the game here. And this hand is relatively good at not just immediately losing the game. So this is turbo play mode. Ah, fuck, I wanted to Wasteland so badly. Threat in play. Threat in play. The words. Boarding my opponent is not great when they just have an expedition map that they can sink their mana into. So I think I'm just gonna be good with this as is. Yep. So just swords that, not fuck around with that at all. Oh my god, what a draw. Gideon, 0, combat, swing. This is a shit ton of pressure. Like, the only thing I'll have to decide is, like, whether I'm gonna, like, plus an attack with the Gideon or whether or not I'm just gonna make a Knight Army forever. It'll be a little dependent on what my opponent does, I suppose. Green Sun? Yeah. But did you just... Oh, no. Oh, no. Yep. My opponent says GG's. I'm gonna shame scoop. That's totally acceptable. Ugh. Regardless, I think after I I think double wastelanding my opponent, playing Rest in Peace, Gideon plussing, attacking for 5, 8, 9, 10 is pretty damn good. I don't think my opponent comes back from that, even if that Green Sun does resolve. Ugh. Okay, this opening hand has no lands, obviously has to go back. This one is fine. This expedition map is super awkward here. It's like technically a turn 1 play, but it's kind of like a land drop that could get hit by a prismatic ending. I really need a third land for this hand to be functional. I also don't really know that I can take a turn off to activate this expedition map. Like, I have these 2 turns spoken for, and if I draw a land, then I have other things I want to do other than this. I am just going to throw this back. If I get wastelanded... Well, I guess if I get wastelanded, then I don't... Like, I can't activate the expedition map anyway, so I guess that's a moot point. See if this is going to be another just incredibly grindy round. I would be okay with just, like, dying to Doomsday. It'd be fine. Also, like, we're in round 4. I've played 3 45-minute rounds, and I don't know that I've made a construct token that has been relevant yet. Just throwing that out there. I don't think this league is a success story for Urza's Saga. Alright. Island Swamp or Underground Sea? Underground Sea. Okay. You know, like, Baleful Strix? What's 2 mana here? Okay, we're a bug deck? Oh. Okay, we're playing against a Witherbloom Apprentice combo deck. So I can die to Chain of Smog next turn. If I wasteland my opponent and they have a land, they cast Chain of Smog and I die. If I play Thalia and my opponent has a land, they play Chain of Smog and I die. If I wasteland, they do specifically need to have another black land. Accordingly, I think wasteland is the play. My opponent also has to just go for it in the face of this open mana, which they may not be willing to do. Okay. I'm going to click on a card here, like I'm paying for costs, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to pass my turn. I'm just going to like plant the idea that I might actually have a Swords to Plowshares. So from their perspective, they would lose to a Swords to Plowshares, Path, or Solitude. The Thalia in play is better against this sort of stuff. Ooh, are they missing a land drop? If they're missing a land drop, this Thalia becomes so good, and it helps me bridge towards Skyclave Apparition. Okay, so I need them not to have Force of Will plus land drop next turn. I am going to go ahead and do this. It's slightly awkward if they have exactly Force of Will, blue card, Chain of Smog, and land as 4 of their 7 cards that they're going to have between now and their draw step. Okay. So there's the first 2. So we'll see if they have land plus Chain of Smog, but like casting the Swords to Plowshares would have been pretty punishing anyway. Okay, so I can die here to Chain of Smog. Okay. Well, I obviously take this hit. Can't do anything about that there, and we'll see if I die to a combo attempt. Oh no, that's blue-blue. I don't die to a combo attempt. Oh fuck, is it a Murktide? Okay. Land? Thank you. Alright. How am I navigating this? My opponent had a chance to combo kill me, and didn't. This turn's really fucking hard. I can do something super mana efficient like Source of Plowshares, Murktide Regent, and then play Stoneforge Mystic, but then the Stoneforge can get dazed. I can Skyclave Apparition, the Witherbloom Apprentice, but that plays into a daze. That keeps me from getting comboed, or take 5 to a Murktide Regent, and then I'd attempt to Source the Plowshares and play a Stoneforge. I'm just playing against fucking Splinter Twin here. Alright. I think I need to not die to the combo. I think I just have to play around that. Alright. So, goodbye to Witherbloom. I'll take 5, go to 9, and then hopefully I'll be stable from there. This is more life loss than I would like to have taken at this point in the game, though. Sure, that's fine. So my opponent probably has the full playsets of Ponder, Preordain, and Brainstorm, just because they're so good with Witherbloom. Okay. Alright, Vile. Vile is not really what I'm looking for. Preordain went bottom, by the way. Alright. Let's attempt to get this out of the way while playing around a Spell Pierce. Okay, that's a huge success. I am actually going to play this Ether Vial. This makes me slower at actually winning the game, but I think this game is going to drag on for a little while. I can get killed by a combo at 4 mana just by playing Apprentice into Chain of Smog in 1 turn. But I think I've already established that my opponent at least did not previously have Chain of Smog, and that's a bottom. I really wish that I had a single Solitude to tutor for. That makes this game so safe. When I don't just immediately die to Murktide or Witherbloom Apprentice plus Chain of Smog. Yield to this. They'll tick up. Not a draw that I'm looking for. I essentially just want, like, mana denial stuff here. So my opponent goes to 19. I think I'm going to Recruiter. I want a Stoneforge next turn so that I get to use my Vile mana, so to speak. Okay, it's resolved. So now I have to make a choice about this. I'd like to do something about getting comboed. I can kind of do that with a Flicker Wisp, Vile at 3. I think I'm going to grab... Actually, I'll grab a Spirit of the Labyrinth here. Don't have a main deck Sanctum Prelate, so that won't do it. If I know that my opponent has a minimum of 12 cantrips in their deck, then I think grabbing a Spirit and just having something that threatens to just kind of lock my opponent in place is pretty good. Watery Grave. Is that a 5th Underground Sea, or are there like fucking Death Shadows in there too? Decklist is wild if that's the case. Alright. So this turn almost certainly has to be hard to cast Flicker Wisp, but blink this, and then exile this one. I guess I can attack with this first and give my opponent the opportunity to trade, though. They shocked with this Watery Grave. Does that mean they have, like, a Spell Pierce that they're holding up? It also could be, like, a Fatal Push. I don't know. This, I think, is just forced. I'll do this. Ooh, it is a Snuff Out. That's pretty good. Alright, so my opponent gets a critter out of that. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and hold this Spirit of the Labyrinth rather than Violet in immediately, because I can also just represent Stoneforge Mystic, put in Cauldra, attack for another 5, 8, 9 potential damage. Am I taking this hit? I don't think I am. Do I just trade? Maybe I just trade Flicker Wisp for it. Yeah, I'll do that. Alright. Another fucking Murktide Regent. Oh my god. Yeah. Alright. I can brainstorm in response here. Maybe I shouldn't have activated this yet. I just need to get Batterskull right now. I think I do. I should not have done that with this timing. I kind of changed my mind. I was really thinking about just using a Spirit of the Labyrinth. Alright, so my opponent does not have a 1-mana sorcery. I think I just tick this up. I have to find a way to not be dead to the combo if my opponent has it. I think I'm more or less just accepting that I'm going to be dead to the combo if my opponent has it. I don't think I can play around it and also just beat this Murktide Regent. I have some really good lines if I'm willing to risk casting a Flicker Wisp. I can cast Flicker Wisp, target Recruiter, get another Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp Murktide on my opponent's turn, and then attack in with like 2 Flicker Wisps and a Cauldra. I don't think I'm willing to risk that though. My opponent clearly has non-cantrips that they're not casting, which means like another Murktide or maybe Force of Will. I think I'm gonna like awkwardly not do this Spirit that I tutored up, just because like my opponent had the second Murktide and it kind of ruins my plans. Ugh, so much for this one being a fast round. Decisions here are incredibly difficult. I need more removal than what I have. I really wish I had access to Solitude. Like, if this was a Solitude that I could have tutored up, I'm just so incredibly safe. This equipment dominates the game. Okay. So, with that timing, I think I'll now go ahead and tap this. Yes. Flicker Wisp. Remove the counters from the Murktide. Leovold makes this Jitte in my hand so much worse, too. Now I don't have the line of just, like, rip a land, Jitte, equip, kill Witherbloom Apprentice without giving my opponent multiple cards. Ugh. Alright, Leovold resolves. Alright, so put in this Batterskull. And then I guess I'm hoping to draw a removal spell. No to this. Wasteland. Alright, I guess I'm in the beatdown now. I'll go land. Spirit of the Labyrinth. Okay, it resolved. In which case, I'll go ahead and put in Cauldra. Okay, good stuff. So if I attack in with these 3 creatures, one of these has to be blocked. I am gaining 4 life this turn. I am technically dead on the crackback if all 3 of these swing in back, but I don't think they can really do that. I'll leave back the Recruiter as a chump blocker, and we'll kind of see how my opponent navigates this combat. This is going to be just so painfully close. I am dead to the top card of my opponent's library being Chain of Smog, if Witherbloom Apprentice stays on the table. I think they're just going to block the Flicker Wisp and take 9 and go to 2. Alright. My opponent cannot cantrip into the card. They just have to draw Chain of Smog as their draw 4 turn. So I have Spirit of the Labyrinth in play. I did not expect to win that one. Okay, Deafening Silence doesn't stop copying, does it? I guess I should look at the text of Chain of Smog. Some of those old cards are formatted kind of strangely. The player may copy this spell and choose a new target for that copy. Do not believe copying is the same as casting, so I don't think that works. So I want Path to Exiles. They answer everything that I care about. Want Council's Judgment. Sanctum Prelate on 2 is reasonable. Rest in Peace is okay. I could consider Deafening Silence and Either Sworn Canonist still, just as things that make it so that my opponent can't chain together multiple cantrips in a turn. I hate Murktide Regent so much. Okay. These Rest in Pieces are a maybe. Expedition Map is going out. Jitei probably goes out. It can be good against Witherbloom Apprentice. But I don't know that it's what... It's so much mana investment for something that can just get, like, stopped for free via a Snuff Out. I'm probably going to go down 1 land. This is not a grindy matchup. If I bring in the Rest in Peace, this is still 4 cards. I have to make some cuts somewhere. Mother of Runes is medium. Jitei is medium. I'm going to go Jitei out. Mother of Runes plus a flyer stops a Murktide region as well. Like, my Spirits and Thalias are both important. I don't know that I get to trim either of those. Skyclave is technically an answer. Recruiter finds answers. I don't think I'm going to have room for these. My last cut. It can be a creature. I guess a Flicker Wisp. Now let's do a Mother of Runes. Yeah, this is a reasonable hand. It doesn't actually answer a creature, but I have 2 different Hate Bearers. Plus a... I should rephrase. It doesn't answer an early creature. It answers a mid-game creature, which is fine. That was a quick shuffle. Okay, now I've got something that answers a creature. Perfectly happy with that. We'll potentially just fire off a Path to Exile immediately on a Witherbloom Apprentice that's played out. My mana is probably spoken for the next couple of turns. Alright, that's no shuffle this time. Thoughtseize? Well, fuck me. Okay. I don't really know why this is seeing play. Fine that it is. It's just surprising to me. So this just threatens Cauldron if my opponent doesn't have Force of Will, which is like an easy finisher for this board. I can also just Skyclave this away next turn and then play. Sure. Anyway, finishing the thought, I can also just Skyclave this away and then just play double 8 Bear on my turn 4. Shit gets real awkward if my opponent plays a Witherbloom Apprentice, though. Okay. Leovold, then? Yeah. No, that's blue. Is this Murktide number 1? It is Murktide number 1. I just probably can't take this hit for 6 here. I hate the fact that my opponent can just 4 mana combo me off here. But I also just have to respect the fact that this combo might not even be in my opponent's deck anymore in post-sideboard games. Like, if they have things of this caliber that they're bringing in, like, it's very possible that all of the Chain of Smogs have been boarded out for sideboard cards like this one. My current plan is play Skyclave Apparition, get rid of Dread of Night, and then hold up Path to Exile for either a Murktide Regent or a Witherbloom Apprentice. Okay. They found something that they liked. Okay, so they've like mini brainstorm locked themselves by doing that. I'm good with that. See if I get Force of Willed. I do not. Alright. I now feel pretty good about my position in this game. Gut shot. Rough. I have to keep my path here. Yeah. So, the way this works... Oh, this is not an until it leaves the battlefield. These are 2 separate triggers. Sick. Okay, I think my opponent thought that was going to get rid of that. They did a reformatting change a couple years back where some of these effects work differently than they used to. It used to be that a lot of these things created an enters and leaves, and then a bunch of them ended up being reformatted so that it's a single trigger that causes them to both leave and re-enter. So if you kill the thing before it re-enters, or if you kill the thing before the original trigger resolves, it never goes anywhere. I think my opponent thought it was one of those. which was not the case. Okay, so it looks like it's Murktide Regent time. Again. So I've not seen a daze out of my opponent yet, so I am just going to go ahead and fire off this Path to Exile at my opponent's end step. And then I'm going to play both Spear of the Labyrinth and Thalia in the same turn cycle. Nice. Alright, good stuff. So I'll do Thalia first, so that a response becomes more awkward from my opponent, and then I just hope that I don't get hit with a Dread of Night. Because it'd be real good here. Real good, considering, like, that I also have 2 X1s in my hand. Don't you fucking... God damn it. Alright. So there goes my Recruiter of the Guard, so that I can't just tutor up an answer to that. I have a lot of dead draws here. Yep. Okay. Urza Saga has real text for probably the first time this league. This is going to be very good. These things aren't white. And I do need a mana sink currently. Unfortunately, this is pretty likely to mean that I'm not going to be able to hardcast this Cauldra. But I think the upside of making some constructs is a pretty big deal here. I can immediately die at any time to the combo if my opponent has it, just by the way. Because they have 4 mana to just play both pieces in one turn and not really expose them to a lot of the things I can do to interact. Okay, that's one of my best draws, unquestionably. Now this answers both a Murktide Regent that comes into play, as well as a Witherbloom Apprentice. Mystic Sanctuary on Brainstorm, sure. Was not super expecting that. So let's do the end of turn. Do the thing. This is going to be a respectable clock. Make my second construct. Remember not to play out Mother of Runes. Grab an Ether Vial. And attack for 3. This leaves me with... Oh? Are you just... Okay. I'll redeploy Ether Vial, I guess. Opponent has the correct fringe sideboard cards to deal with what I have going on here. I'm currently favored, but don't know how long that remains true for, because my opponent can just like find a Murktide Regent, and I'm probably forced to more or less immediately just Swords to Plowshares that. Used Council's Judgment already, right? I have 2 outs to this Dread of Night. Gonna want to put my other Urza Saga back in the deck now that I know that Dread of Night is something that my opponent is rocking. Yep. Haven't seen a daze yet. Yep. Just don't think that's a card that's in my opponent's deck. Pick up. Yeah. Alright, I think we're gonna sit and stare at each other for a little while. Pick up. I mean, the good news is, once I have this vial at 3, I can leave those at 3, and then have something that disrupts a Witherbloom Apprentice combo. Card negative for me, but I'll at least have it. Yes. Oh my god. Don't miss this. I can waste a Flicker Wisp to gain 2 life and not die to a Chain of Smog combo immediately. But I will just die to it next turn anyway if they have it. I think I'm just going to be fine with dying if they have it. Okay, yep, the Aether Vial is shut off. And I'll take my 2 damage here. Can't really do anything about that. We'll always no to this Aether Vial at this point. Okay, fantastic. Actually, I think I want to fire this off right now, before my opponent has Hardcast Force of Will available. That's very much a thing that, like, my opponent could have in hand. Okay. Alright, so I have avoided being dead to the combo for a little while longer, and now my opponent will just top deck a Murktide Regent, and I'll be sad for that reason instead. This is pretty miserable. Leovold? Oh, this feels like a Murktide Regent. Painful Truths, wow. Okay. I am not convinced my opponent knows what year it is. This is like Old legacy tech. Batter Skull. That's almost good. That will be good in one turn. I accept this draw. Also, like, there's starting to be a real danger of my opponent timing out. I don't actually remember if we're in game 2 or game 3, but if we're in game 2, like, they very realistically might time out. Fuck me. Goodbye, Batter Skull. Opponent also gets to know that the coast is clear for comboing off, which is not good for me. We always yield to this. And that was my land for the Batter Skull. I need to keep making my land drops for Cauldra, so I'm just gonna make it. Like, answer down, opponent. If you got it, you got it. Again, I'm not even entirely sure if the combo is in their deck right now. I've seen them sideboard in a very large number of cards here. So, like, we've seen Needle, Dread of Night, Oracle's Recall, Painful Truths presumably is not in the deck for game 1. And there's another Dread of Night that we saw as well, plus a Gut Shot. Yeah, I'm guessing the combo is not in the deck. Alright. One more land till Cauldra. I'm not sure if I'm actually supposed to, Sure. Oh my god, my opponent has sideboarded in so many cards. There's absolutely no way that, the Chain of Smog combo is still in the deck. Just discard one of these, like Mother of Runes. Honestly, maybe Thalia is worse than Mother of Runes. Sure. We're on track to win via decking. Alright, this is 7. I can play Cauldra here. I don't think Cauldra is going to resolve. I'm just going to pass the turn. Like, I will be comfortable playing Cauldra when I am on the 8th mana and can hold up Swords to Plowshares as well. But, like, it's just so incredibly likely that my opponent has a Force of Will. Yeah, okay. So on the 8th land, I'm comfortable doing this. I'm just going to tap the Caracas so that I can't run into any weird wasteland situation. Daze. Okay, Daze is in the deck. I don't want to tap this land, but I accept. Okay, so this is what my opponent had. Again, though, like, my opponent has boarded in just an incredible density of cards. I do not think the combo is in their deck. Oh wow, just going for the Painful Truths again. You're at 8. You're at 6. Sure. I lose my Swords to Plowshares there. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's worlds where some of this stuff eventually ends up leaving play. Yeah, I mean, you can draw your 3 cards with Painful Truths. Like, Future Thoughtseizes and Fetch lands are worse. Like, every fetch land you draw from here is dead. Sure. So I will tick up the new Ether Vial. Urza Saga is a great draw. Yeah. How? How do you have room for this? I do not understand. I don't remember if I'm in game 2 or if I'm in game 3. I think I'm just in game 2. I'm gonna make my opponent click through this. They're very low on clock. This is game 2 and I'm like down a game or something. Like, I accept that I should have conceded here, but it's really hard to keep track of what your game you're in when you're doing commentary and when the games run this long. Yeah, that was game 2. Opponent is going to have a very hard time winning in less than 3 minutes. Okay, so basically I need to not die to the timeout. Or rather, I need to not die to the combo. I'm very good at not dying to my opponent's stuff, generally speaking. I want this other Urza Saga in here. I think I probably want the Cathar Commando and the Aetherthorn Canonist for different reasons. So, like, my my Mother of Runes aren't going to be good against this Dread of Night deck. I'm probably going to cut all 3 of those to get Urza Saga, Aetherthorn Canonist as an X2 in here, and a Cathar Commando in here. Leaves me at 22 creatures, a lot of answers to opposing creatures. I think I'm okay with this configuration. I also could just straight up consider playing Rest in Peace as something that helps me not die to a Murktide Regent. But I do need to keep a decent number of threats myself. This hand is fine to good. It has an answer to the first Witherbloom Apprentice that my opponent plays, which is fantastic. And it otherwise has a good turn 1 and 2 play. Alright. Opponent is very much under the gun here immediately. That's quite good for them. Sure. Always yield to this. Yes. Saga? I don't think I want to play that yet. I know my opponent's a Daze deck, but this is honestly just too good to not do. Because I can play, like, Source of Plowshares on a Witherbloom Apprentice, and then put in Cauldra. Yep. Ooh, a Thoughtseize instead, sure. I mean, I've just got a Flicker Wisp to reset it and try again. Do I play Urza Saga on my turn? Maybe. Pick that up. Probably just play Urza Saga this turn. I'll bash in for 1. And then on my next couple... Wow. Okay. Well, now I definitely play Urza Saga. Alright. I'll do that. Play a Flicker Wisp. Technically vulnerable to a Daze, but I don't think that super matters here. Daze might be out on the draw now. Alright, my Plains comes back. Sure. I mean, I have the Urza Saga in play. Sequencing, though? I mean, I guess my opponent is very limited on time. They don't get a lot of time to think about things. So, like, they're fighting both. Do I take this up? Yeah, I think I take this up. Actually, I don't have to yet. Alright, I will just play Caracas and pass the turn. Yep, you've got a Witherbloom Apprentice. You don't have a Witherbloom Apprentice. I have a 2/2. Guess I'll leave this. It's, like, not super relevant what I leave it on, because, like, it's Pithing Needled in the first place. I do have 3 of them, though. So there's that. So I'm going to crash in for 5, and then I'm going to have lethal next turn. Opponent needs something like a Murktide Regent. They could also just, like, go 4th land, Chain of Smog, 4th land Witherbloom Apprentice, Chain of Smog as their last 3 cards, and I could lose to that. Okay. They have a Murktide Regent. Alright, removal spell for that would be great, because that is an 8/8. This is obnoxious. I only have to survive for 30 more seconds, though. Pick all these up. Oh, nice. Do I remove that? My opponent definitely can get 3 attacks in 38 seconds and kill me with it, but I don't know if my opponent can actually chain a Smog combo off in time. I think I'm going to just kind of assume that they can't and do this. They would also need... Yeah, okay. There's the concession, and I believe that brings us up to 4-0. This league is grueling. I thought I was going to record a few rounds today. No, we're going to get through one. One all day. Alright, I have kept my opening hand for the final round here. We're playing for a trophy. My opponent has mulliganed to 5 already and is considering going deeper. Alright, they have kept on 5. Okay, Tropical Island is not it's not always a combo thing. Alright. Land go. If we're just playing against a fair blue deck that's down 2 cards, I really like my position. This still could be like a Storm deck, though. I think my turn 2 play is Thalia as of right now. It's just going to be better against like a Source of Plowshares, Lightning Bolt type card than Spirit of the Labyrinth is going to be. Okay. We doing... Oh, is this just an Adnaz? Yeah, this is a turn 2 Adnaz on a mull to 5. Okay. So we're playing against TES. They have no initial mana sources so far. Still none. Oh. Okay, they can officially die if they continue flipping. But they cannot go off this turn right now. They also probably can't go off next turn either. But if I play this Thalia, it's pretty close to game over for them. Okay, they're going. They're going. This is so tense. Come on. Oh, yeah. Daddy. Oh, fuck. They only have one color of mana right now. Like, they'll only have red mana. I think they just have to stop here past the turn. Actually, I guess they could LED Echo. And just go, like, Lotus Petal, right, LED Echo. And just, like, hope to get there. It seems like that's what's gonna happen. Alright. Oh, they had a Chrome Box in hand. That changes things. Imprint that. And now they can brainstorm and try to find an actual win. I might die now. Yeah. So now I'm dead for Burning Wish into Tendrils. That's super unfortunate. They can Orm's Chant for value here, which they do. Yep, alright, so here's Burning Wish, Crack for Black, Tendrils, I die. I mean, that's super unfortunate. My opponent mulled to 5, had Rit Ad Naus for the turn 2, and then managed not to die to their own Ad Naus after being in very precarious position. Alright. Well, it's not going to be a long match, that's for sure. I'll take this. I'll take these. Grafdigger's Cage is medium minus. I might end up playing it. I'll take this. Rest in Peace isn't great. Cage is at least a turn 1 play, which is the difference between it and the other things. I'll definitely play Prelate. So, generally speaking, I'm going to have about 7 cards to board in. Like, there's other things I can board in, but they're not really going to be good. I don't really need Source to Plowshares. I don't really need Jete. I don't really need Expedition Map. Flicker Wisps are also kind of weak. Like, they do things, but a lot of my other stuff is going to be better. I can also go down a Mom reasonably, but nice against some of the things that could answer my creatures. I'll go down to Flicker Wisp. All right, so the next thing is, like, do I want to play one Council's Judgment as something that can answer a Wishclaw? It's reasonable. Do that. I'm gonna board something like this. I think I'm gonna take a second and go to theepicstorm.com and just see what Bryant's deck list looks like right now in terms of the answers I need to be playing around. All right, Prismatic Endings, Corrupt Decay, Grape Shot. Okay, there is a Massacre in there right now. So I should keep all of the Mother of Runes if I have to play around Prismatic Endings. In that case, I think I like how I've boarded. This is going to be a keep. So this is super awkward. I'm going to do this so I don't get just, like, Wishclaw Talisman on turn... Or not Wishclaw Talisman. So I don't get Echo of Eons on turn 1. And then I have a Thalia for turn 2. And if my Thalia gets taken for some reason, I still have... Okay. Reasonable backup after that. Alright. There is my Thalia. Okay. Now, note, like, my Thalia can just be answered with land into Prismatic Ending, so, like, I'm not taking a lot of stock in this, just, like, absolutely swinging the game here. Exhibit A. Okay. Land is good. I am going to just prioritize putting my pressure in play. My opponent's mana is currently a little bit awkward. Right, like, so there's no black mana, there's no red mana here. So I'm not porting them off primary colors if I port them. So I'm going to not just try to port them. They've had 0 time to sculpt, and I believe they took a mulligan as well. Not that that meant much last game, but, you know. Okay, my opponent took a long time on that brainstorm, and they're fetching now. So when they take a long time on their brainstorm, it either means I'm dead or their situation is bad. Ooh, white. Prismatic Ending again? Prismatic Ending again. Okay. So I basically have nothing right now. My hand is exceptionally bad. Like, close to as bad as it possibly could be. I think I need to port this turn. I need to port this black source. And then next turn I'll Recruiter for, like, a Thalia. I just don't think I can just Recruiter past the turn here and realistically make it back around the table. Okay, yeah, I mean, float your mana. But do I want Aethersworn Canonist over Thalia? I want Aethersworn Canonist over Thalia. gonna be a 2-drop hate bear regardless. I don't know. Thalia's protectable via Caracas. Actually, that's probably the deal breaker here. And on that note, I guess I would like to draw a land then. Uh-oh. This could just be my opponent playing out mana so that it doesn't get taxed later. Never mind. I'm just dead. Oh, is it just goblins? If it's just goblins, that's totally beatable. Storm count's not very high at all. Like, is it 8 goblins? Yeah, it's empty the warrens. Oh, it's 10 goblins. Did I beat that with Recruiter for Stoneforge? I guess we'll find out. I don't need to actually do the math, because, like, my lines are pretty locked in here. Alright, so yes to both of those. Play Recruiter. Use this ability, yes. Let's take a quick look, but I think it's just Stoneforge. Yeah. Might as well put it in while my opponent is Hellbent. Yes. Stoneforge. Yes. No equipment to find. Pass turn. Yeah, I think this wins for me, unless my opponent draws Prismatic Ending. Yep. Block. Block. Okay. Yeah, so opponent needs Prismatic Ending. They tapped the wrong land. Well, I guess this leaves open Abrupt Decay instead of Prismatic Ending. Yeah, my top decks also become very good here. I guess if they Abrupt Decay this, I can also just draw a land. These will both go up. Beautiful. So my plan is Rashadan Port this Tundra, put Batterskull in, also have a second Stoneforge Mystic. My opponent also, like, knows what cards they're drawing, so sure. It's like they just brainstormed and brainstorm locked themselves. Alright, so they're going in. I do this thing. I put in a Batterskull. I tap this. Yes, I put in a Stoneforge Mystic. No, I don't need to use that ability. Block. Block. I only take 2 this turn. I go to 10. I attack for an epic crap ton of damage on my next turn. Alright, sure, you can Burning Wish. Burning Wish for a Ponder. Oof. Just on behalf of everyone here, just oof. Alright, at this point, I am... Yeah, okay. I agree. Okay, do I want to do anything differently for this game? I don't think so. I can do something differently. I would like to have a Deafening Silence in my opening hand, and for it not to, like, get thought seized away or something. Alright. Game on the draw versus TES is so hard in game 3. An okay hand. I don't think I pitched this, but I think I die for keeping this some portion of the time. Opponent has gone to 5, so they are very much trying to go under me. Like, turn 2 on the play is, like, where TES wants to be getting their kills versus this deck. Ooh. Guess I'm doing that. Like, every little thing that increases my chances of making it to turn 2 is reasonable. Oh, you know, honestly, I think I forgot. Or no, I didn't forget. Never mind. JK. Sure. Alright. Alright, well, that didn't start with a ritual, so there's a chance I'm making it to my turn 2 here. Okay. Alright. Uh-huh. Are you playing these around, Thalia, or are you going off? You've got 1 card left. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Alright, so this is just Thalia go. My opponent has basically no Storm. I can also just play Cathar Commando and use it to kill an LED. Or I can just Skyclave away an LED. I'm gonna have a lot of good options for my turn. I feel like a trophy is likely at this point. Which is nice, because I wasn't expecting to win this match. So let's Skyclave. Okay. Sure. Don't know why you have to fetch in response there. I'll take the LED. Alright. Good shit. I can double Rashadan Port for the rest of this game. Thoughtseize? What is this? Oh, it is a Wishclaw Talisman. Sure. This can only be activated at sorcery speed, right? Activate only during your turn. Yeah. I'll just kill that. I'll get my hit for 4 in. This is going to drop my opponent to 12. Play a Cathar Commando. Immediately destroy a Wishclaw Talisman and get my fucking trophy. It took me 4 hours, but I got it, damn it. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I do not believe that I ever fetched Expedition Map with an Urza Saga. I never did anything that approached doing any of the bounty stuff, and I think I sideboarded out the Expedition Map almost every round. So that should kind of give you a feel for whether or not the Expedition Map was viable. I know what the scoreboard says. Like, the scoreboard says that I 5-0'd this league. This deck list is good. But, like, I had issues in this league, right? Like, Expedition Map was not a land. That was something that was, like, definitely relevant. Urza Saga's blowing up and, like, just losing power over time was definitely relevant. I felt like otherwise the deck list was pretty good. I really did want one Solitude in the 75 somewhere, or a Palace Jailer. I just want something so that I can answer a Murktide Regent cleanly off of Recruiter. I had to jump through a lot of hoops in order to beat Murktide Regents in this league, and we ran into Murktide Regents in multiple rounds, because that card is dumb, and why wouldn't you be playing it? Did not expect to play against Dread of Night this league. I think I'm out of mental oof. I think the video ends here. Folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, throw me a like on the way out. Throw me any comments. I'm gonna go like do something that's not Magic for a while. Have a great rest of the day. What a grind. See ya.